Another day of chaos at the port of Dover, where the wait to get passports checked has been far too long. Coach parties have been particularly badly affected. School children were stuck on board overnight.
Waited so long, paid so much money, and now we've got to wait 20 hours to go on the ferry, which is, it's no good.
Also on the programme, the government says it's in negotiations after 3 British men were detained in Afghanistan. Yet another Grand Prix ends in controversy in Australia. And at tonight's Olivier Awards, there'll be a special honour for a dancing Dane.
I can't quite believe it, but I am actually going to hold an Olivier Awards in my hands. It seems unreal.
DanTV News with Geraint, Vincent.
Good evening. It's been a weekend of terrible delays at the port of Dover, where some coach passengers waited throughout the night to have their passports checked before crossing the channel. School children stuck on coaches which were meant to be taking them off on school trips have endured miserable conditions. And in the chaos, some holidays had to be abandoned for safety reasons because the coach companies said their drivers had been on duty for too long. Today, the Home Secretary insisted Brexit is not to blame for the mess. From Dover, Ian Woods reports.
The backlog of coaches is finally being cleared, but that's no consolation for those who've endured a miserably long wait or even had their holidays cancelled. Passengers were given the chance to stretch their legs after being held overnight in service stations or parking lots. This group of school children from Cardiff should be well on their way to Italy by now.
I'm really tired. Had no sleep. And I just want to get on the ferry. Like, please.
But you've been looking forward to this trip, I imagine, for a long time, so what's the reality been like?
Depressing, because waited so long, paid so much money, and now we've got to wait 20 hours to go on the ferry, which is, it's no good.
Yesterday we showed a group of youngsters on their way to a football tournament in Amsterdam. They never made it, and today we're back in London. After 12 hours on board, the coach company announced the driver had spent too long at the wheel and couldn't board the ferry.
We then had to sit in the queue for another 2 hours because we were stuck in the middle of a line of coaches, so we couldn't go anywhere. So we actually had to wait until we got to the front of the queue for passport checks, where we could actually then turn the coach round and leave Dover and head home again.
It's really annoying because I was really excited to go to Amsterdam.
Well, the entire team was looking forward to the trip, and it was sad that we couldn't go.
The coach industry says something must be done to prevent this happening again.
Coaches need to be allowed a clear path to cross the channel. You know, the future of international coach travel really does hang on this sort of episode not reoccurring in the future.
Coaches were being prioritised today. Yesterday, Dover was gridlocked, but with less freight traffic on a Sunday, the ferry companies say lorries and cars were flowing freely. But while bad weather on Friday and a surge of coach bookings contributed to the delays, the Port Authority has pointed out that checking and stamping passports of dozens of passengers aboard the same bus does take longer than it used to. And that has reopened a familiar political debate.
No, I don't think that's fair to say this has been an adverse effect of Brexit. I think we've had many years now since leaving the European Union, and there's been, on the whole, very good operations.
The reality is that the processing of coach passengers by French border officials based in Dover has been taking several hours this weekend. It doesn't bode well for the rest of the Easter holidays or the summer.
So, Ian, how's it looking there this evening?
Well, it is better than it has been. If you take a look over my shoulder, you can still see that there's a big queue of coaches building up at the terminal, and these people still face waits of several hours. I've just seen some teachers carrying in boxes of pizza to feed hungry pupils, and others have been making their own way into town to try to get something to eat. Now, we've just been told by the Port of Dover in the last few minutes that most coaches booked on ferries this evening are now here at the terminal, whereas for the past 36 hours, dozens of them have been kept outside the town until there is space to accommodate them. So things are improving, but thousands of people who should be on the continent enjoying their holidays are instead at home tonight, angry that the delays meant that those journeys couldn't be completed. Now, the Home Secretary may be focused at the moment on trying to stop small boats from crossing the channel, but a lot of people tonight are asking who's to blame or what's to blame for delaying the ferries.
OK, Ian, many thanks. 2 British men arrested by the Taliban have today made contact with their families for the first time in 3 months. Kevin Cornwell, a charity paramedic, and another unnamed man who's a hotel manager were detained in January. A third Briton, a tourist called Miles Routledge, is also being held. The government says it's in negotiations over their safety. Callum Watkinson has this report.
I like it. YouTuber Miles Routledge says he goes to the most dangerous places on earth for fun. Here, he claims to be shooting with the Taliban, apparently on friendly terms.
Maybe we do one more?
Yeah. But a humanitarian organisation that works in Afghanistan say he's been arrested. One of 3 Britons currently held in the country, who the government here is now working to liberate.
The government is in negotiations and working hard to ensure people's safety is upheld.
Paramedic Kevin Cornwell and an unnamed man are also in custody. They were arrested at this hotel in Kabul when Afghan intelligence officers found a gun in a safe. An organisation negotiating for their release say the firearm was licensed and the arrests part of a misunderstanding, albeit one that has taken months to resolve. These men were arrested in January and the Foreign Office hasn't been able to make any contact with them in the time since, though it has, it said this weekend, been supporting their families who were finally able to speak with them on the phone this afternoon. Now, that call is a significant sign of progress, according to those who helped to broker it.
There has to date been no meaningful interaction with consular officials, governments, or anyone else on detainees held in these matters. That this has changed today represents an enormous step forwards.
One who went to Afghanistan for fun, 2 who were there working. All tonight, it's hoped, slightly closer to freedom. Callum Watkinson, ITV News.
3 people have been arrested on suspicion of murder after a van struck 2 men outside a pub in Cramlington in Northumberland last night. 1 man died at the scene and the other is in a critical condition in hospital. 2 men and a woman are in custody and a vehicle has been recovered in Blythe as part of the inquiry. And West Midlands police are appealing to find a man they believe was driving a car which was involved in a crash that caused a woman to lose her unborn child. These images were released today. The collision between a BMW and a Toyota happened in Solihull last year. The Pope has led a Palm Sunday Mass at St Peter's Square after being discharged from hospital where he was being treated for bronchitis. In his homily in front of tens of thousands of worshippers, he called on the faithful to take care of those who are left alone. Nick Wallace has our report.
As the faithful queued to get into St Peter's Square in Rome this morning, there was confidence mixed with concern for the Holy Father's health.
We worried. We've prayed a lot for the Pope, wishing that he could at least be present for these celebrations.
Now we've seen he recovered quite quickly and that it was nothing serious. We're happy for him.
The 86-year-old pontiff looked untroubled as he was driven into the square for the traditional Palm Sunday celebrations.
Per la vostra partecipazione e anche per le vostre preghiere.
He spoke for more than 15 minutes, deviating from a prepared speech to talk about a homeless man who died recently, alone and abandoned under the colonnades surrounding St Peter's Square. The effects of the Pope's recent bout of severe bronchitis became noticeable.
Fatto uomo e umiliato fino alla morte di croce. Fa che abbiamo sempre presente il grande insegnamento della sua passione.
Today's ceremony was onerous enough. How well Pope Francis recovers will almost certainly have a bearing on whether he can carry out all his usual duties over the forthcoming Easter weekend. The Pontiff has previously hinted that if he becomes too tired to do his job, he might consider standing down. But once today was over, it was all smiles. Francis taking again to his Pope-mobile to wave to the thousands who'd gathered to see him. Nick Wallace, ITV News.
On to sport now, and struggling Leicester City have sacked their manager after a loss against Crystal Palace put them into the Premier League relegation zone. Brendan Rodgers oversaw the 6th game in their winless run yesterday. A club statement said they'd been compelled to take action. And today, relegation rivals Southampton remain stuck at the bottom of the table. They were beaten 1-0 by West Ham, who have moved out of the relegation places. And in the last few minutes at the other end of the table, Newcastle have beaten Manchester United 2-0 with goals from Joe Willock and Callum Wilson. The victory takes them above United and into 3rd place. In Formula One, the Australian Grand Prix was marred by chaos and confusion on the track. Max Verstappen eventually took his 2nd win of the season, but even he admitted it had all been a bit of a mess, with the race controversially stopped 3 times. Chris Scudder was watching.
Chaos, controversy and confusion. Formula One had never seen anything like it. The first time a race had ever been stopped with 3 red flags and restarts. The watching stars could have been forgiven for wondering quite what was going on, especially over the final few laps where Kevin Magnussen's flying tyre brought a 2nd red flag stoppage.
Can you believe this?
The race would be decided off the grid for the final 2 laps until more carnage and, remarkably, a 3rd red flag.
The contact, and Fernando Alonso is spun round by Carlos Sainz.
This time it was so close to the end, the rules stated they would have to finish under the control of a safety car. And the anti-climax of world champion Max Verstappen cruising to his 2nd victory in 3 races so far. Lewis Hamilton was the happiest he's been in a while through an excellent 2nd place. But ominously, his arch-rival Verstappen already leads the way and will take some catching. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
Finally tonight, stars from the stage are celebrating the best in theatre tonight, gathering for the Olivier Awards in London. The legendary choreographer Dame Arlene Phillips is up for a special award marking a career that spans 6 decades. Tonight she told ITV she feels like Alice in Wonderland in a dream. Alex Isaac reports.
A show-stopping green carpet ahead of this year's Olivier Awards. It's not a dress rehearsal for the best and brightest in a theatre, as they've come to see who will scoop a coveted honour. Stars like Mira Sayal, who made the jump from screen to stage, and Tim Minchin, who cut his teeth on the stage before becoming world-renowned. For all in attendance, theatre is in their blood. And the spotlight isn't just for those front of stage. Tonight, former Strictly judge Dame Arlene Phillips will be honoured with a special award for her contribution to the theatre industry.
I am so excited tonight. Like, my heart has been beating so fast. I can't quite believe it, but I am actually going to hold an Olivier Awards in my hands. It seems unreal. I feel like kind of Alice in Wonderland in a dream.
Having created spectacular dance routines throughout her career, Arlene is still going strong with shows in the West End right now. Arlene became a household name when she formed Hot Gossip, the British dance troupe, in 1974, and then moved seamlessly from music videos to musicals to TV judge, becoming a true showbiz legend. And Arlene isn't the only recipient of a special award tonight. Sir Derek Jacobi will receive the Lifetime Achievement Award. A star of stage and screen, he has dazzled for more than 60 years. Hopeful to join the 2 legends in winning their own coveted award are a host of nominees from the West End, all ready for their show-stopping moment. Alex Isaac, ITV News.
And the Olivier Awards will be shown on ITV1, ITVX and STV tonight from 10:15. But that's it from us. I'm back with the late news at 10. Until then, enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
everywhere will be lovely and warm today. You might even be tempted to go for a dip. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good evening to you after a mostly dry, if a rather cloudy scene to end the weekend. Clearer skies as we head through the next 24 hours. A little more in the way of welcome springtime sunshine into a new week. But in the meantime, with the clearer conditions, a cold, frosty night ahead. Temperatures slide in the next few hours. Close to freezing in towns and cities, a little lower in the countryside, as low as -2, -3 in sheltered rural spots. And it will be a clear, crisp, if cold start into the new week. Just a bit more of a breeze through the Irish Sea and through the southwest to start the new day. And a little more cloud cover through Northern Ireland into tomorrow. Otherwise, brilliant blue skies and sparkling sunshine. A really stunning Monday ahead. A little chillier in the breeze, particularly further east. Elsewhere, after that cold start, highs of 14 degrees. Not bad. See you soon.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.